Now I'm working at the biggest record label in the world, Interscope Records, which owns Death Row Records. So we got Snoop and Dre and Tupac and the Dog Pound and, No Doubt and Bush and, Marilyn Manson and, every artist that Interscope had. It was like hit after hit, album after album, number one after number one. And I'm now this kid in the mix there. So I, was very versed in hip hop, and I wound up getting a job in the rap department, which was essentially the music services for all of Death Row Records.
Wow.
And I was just in the mix.
I got the man, the myth, the legend of all legends in what he does. Beautifully, I've had the chance to get to know this gentleman, and I think he's quite the special human being in so many different ways. David, we're going to have some fun today, man. It's going to be a good one.
Let's do it. Good to see you, Manny.
You too, brother. I always think about when I see you and what you're doing. Obviously, I know you now. We've had some great time to keep building our relationship from the first days of meeting and building towards mutual business goals. But when I see you now living your best life, I feel like you live a damn good life, man. Like you have a lot of fun. And a lot of people out there right now want to have a lot of fun, dude. If they were able to go and enjoy life the same way that David Weintraub does in backstage places, in the best festivals with all the musicians and all the parties, the natural question for me, D-Dub, is where does that journey all begin for you and start to add up so that you're in position today to live one hell of a good life, man? So I would love if you were able to open up for us and tell us some more about sort of what got you going down this path of where you're at now and start to introduce us to the fantastic milestones that you've hit, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're saying that you see all of the good times and all of that comes with the business, but the root of all of that comes from all of the work that we had to put in to actually get there. And even getting there, we still haven't gotten to where we need to be. So the lights, the glamour, the glitz, and all of that stuff, it's a very small part of what actually the business and my life is about.
Right.
And sometimes we give a glimpse of that stuff because, people want to see it and it's fun to show that, but it certainly has been a lifelong journey on a really crazy train to get here. And I'm very grateful for all of the people that have helped me on my path, the clients, the networks, the brands, my family. But it's been a long one. I mean, I started working really young. I started working when I was 15 years old. So I grew up in Beverly Hills, and my father had passed away when I was very young. So it was me and my mom. I'm an only child. And my mom, blessed us to be in in a great place, great private school. So I was surrounded by a lot of opulence, and wealth, and high-powered individuals. And I came from a family of like doctors and lawyers and professors. And the entertainment business was a secondary notion to me. It was it was a wow thing, but it was also like, these were my friends and their parents and their lifestyle. So I knew that if I didn't want to go in the path of being a doctor or a lawyer or a professor or something of that nature, that I was going to have to start now. And at 15 years old, I got a job as an intern that turned into a paying job as a junior A&R at USC.
Wow.
I'm sorry, excuse me, at Interscope Records.
Right.
Yeah, excuse me, putting them all together. Yeah. So, that was 1994. So at that moment, it's like you got to go and you have to show your heart of what you want to do. And I wanted to achieve. So I went in there and I got coffee and I made photocopies and I sent out mail and I made my mark and my face known. And I was also a musician myself, so I knew a lot about music. Now I'm working at the biggest record label in the world, Interscope Records, which owns Death Row Records. So we got Snoop and Dre and Tupac and the Dog Pound and, No Doubt and Bush and, Marilyn Manson and, every artist that Interscope had. It was like hit after hit, album after album, number one after number one. And I'm now this kid in the mix there. So I, was very versed in hip hop. And I wound up getting a job in the rap department, which was essentially the music services for all of Death Row Records.
Wow.
And I was just in the mix. And after a while, I had graduated high school and I got into USC, into the entertainment business program there. And I wanted to continue my job. But I was given basically a, hey, come back when you're done or come on full time. There wasn't an in between.
Wow. And
actually, the person who offered me the in between was Suge Knight. And Suge Knight gave me the job that I wanted. So he moved me from Interscope to Death Row Records, made me an A&R, allowed me to go to school. And then every time that I wasn't in school, I was in the office at Death Row Records.
Wow.
So I was there in the heyday of heydays.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Really crazy, bro. I mean,
by the way, that's still bigger than life.
Yeah, I mean, here. This is
that's incredible, man. That's fantastic.
So like that, that was my first plaque,
Look at how incredible that is. Ladies, you got to watch this. If you're not watching on YouTube, you got to go to YouTube right now. Make sure you see what David is showing us, his wall of fame right there, brother. That's your own wall of fame.
It's a little, I mean, I go around the office. I got a lot of my shows and billboards. And,
You're just warming us up, man. You're teasing us out, brother. You haven't even gotten into all the other good stuff.
We haven't even gotten to the getting is good. The thing is that, we are white boys from Beverly Hills, but we grew up on hip hop and hip hop was it. So to be working at the biggest record label in the world, at the crux of all the biggest music in the world, I met everybody.
Wow.
And that segued into what became later when I became an agent at William Morris and UTA, into me having the ability to then take these people that I grew up on and was working as a junior to signing them and representing them. And then to where I'm at now, still working with them and representing these names.
Yeah.
And being that figure,
Absolutely.
Because I figured out there was a niche that all of the hip hop people wanted to cross over into film and television. And I snatched that niche. And I did it for everybody. You name an artist, 50 Cent to Birdman, Too Short, Snoop Dogg, David Banner, Scott Storch, I mean, we've done it with Ray J,
sure.
Randy, you name it. That's what we did. So there's a lot of like things that happen on that road that you now realize were all these mini moves that then turned into what the bigger play is, and then evolving to where we're at now, which the pop culture celebrity, which is the influencer. The influencer is now the mega number, high in demand artist that everybody wants to represent. It's all about numbers.
Right. Interesting, man. I mean, from the vantage point of view at 15, saying, hey, you want to start jamming in the entertainment industry, did you know that that's what you wanted to do? Was it a thing for you, David, where you were like, you know what, because I'm in this very opulent, affluent arena of Beverly Hills, were you trying to compare yourself or outcompete somebody or prove yourself to?
There was the fame and the power and the money and the things. And not to say, I mean, we grew up, more upper class than middle class.
Sure.
But like we grew up with everything. There's nothing I didn't have. I
Right.
had everything. We had a nice house. I had nice cars. I had clothes. I had everything. But then there was this next tier, this 1%er tier. And the 1%er is the tier that you wanted to really like achieve to get to. And there are like moments of certain family friends of mine that like helped to get me to see that. Like my first really, really, really famous family friend, and this is when I was like, 10, was Jake Pentland, who was Roseanne Barr's son. Now, Roseanne Barr is making $1 million an episode. It's the biggest television show in the world. She's the biggest comedian in the world. She's the first woman and the first TV star to get to $1 million an episode.
Wow.
They are mega. And I spent a lot of time with them. So hang on one second.
Sure.
I'm on the podcast, girl.
Love this, man. Always about his business, man. I like this guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Haley says hi, Manny.
Tell her I said hello. It's gonna have to be for a reunion.
When we're done. We're just getting started. I'll see you after. Okay, bye. Bye. Haley says hi, Manny.
I love it, man.
Okay. No, she's FaceTiming. Okay. So Roseanne and Tom Arnold were like big fixture celebrities everywhere. I mean, megastar. Like this is a different era. This is like you walk down the street, you're mobbed.
Yep.
It's changed a lot. So I lived in that, and I saw that, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Like I don't know if you remember Roseanne like sang the national anthem.
I don't remember the national anthem, but I am firmly aware of Roseanne, man. I mean, who doesn't know Roseanne?
A lot of people know that Roseanne sang the national anthem, and it was like what I would call a viral moment, like a real viral moment before viral moments, because she went out there, sang it, and it was like really funny, and she grabbed her crotch and spit and did all this stuff, and like the world was mad and blood, and it was crazy. So like the week before that she did that, me and her son Jake, we were in the car like hanging out. We were at Gladstone's. That was my first introduction to Malibu too, which I'm now a Malibu person. And she sang the song for us like 50 times in a row. So like we knew what was about to happen, and then to watch it happen, and then to see the press go crazy and the world go crazy. It was just like, you learn a lot from these weird moments in time. And that helps you now as a rep, as a producer, as a PR agent, to know how to navigate good things and bad things that happen in the media. I learned a lot from that moment. It's big stepping stone. But going back, there's that. Then there's also my dear friend Evan Bogart, whose dad is Neil Bogart, who was like the biggest record company owner in the world in the late 70s and 80s. They just had their movie about him, Spinning Gold, about Neil Bogart. And I saw the record business from his point of view and what it's like to be in that world. And I was like, whoa, the record business is crazy. Now, at the same time, my next door neighbor growing up my whole life, who I was in a lot of bands with and went to camp with every year and hung out with every day after school for many, many years, is Adam Levine from Maroon 5. So I saw Adam evolving into what he wanted to become. So you have him wanting to figure out the music. I wanted to figure out the business, and then I have my other dear, dear best friend who, his father basically treated me like a son because my dad had passed away when I was very little. And that's Randy Spelling and his father, Aaron Spelling. So I had a lot of these like very big families and figures around me that I didn't work for, but I was part of those groups. And that made me want to work to get into the next phase.
Makes sense. Absolutely. There's a connection there. That makes plenty of sense. Now, David, is because you're young, man. So is you said your father passed away young, your mom's still around. Are these friends of your mother? Are you guys going to school together?
My mom became friends. So the community of Beverly Hills and the private school system is a really small community,
I
you know,
see.
like, and you're going to see how small it gets when you go on, because it's, you know, it's the Kardashians and the Jenners and the
Mhm.
Stewarts and the Spellings and, you know, the kids from Laguna Beach and the Hills and Paris and Nicole and all
Right.
these big people that were all in the same age group
Mhm.
and the same community of private schools. So parents all kind of knew each other, but the kids' relationships then made the parents get closer.
Very
So
cool. Mhm.
my mom became very close with all these parents, but it was really more through me. My
I
mom
see.
kind of rolled in a different crew, but she was invited into those crews through the friendships of the children.
Understood. Okay, that makes plenty of sense to me. Makes sense. It's all starting to come together. I like when it
It's
starts
just,
to come together, man. I like there's such a good story in your journey, brother. Like we're not even
we
scratching the surface yet, by the way. We're just getting this thing warmed up, man. We're just
we
warming up.
invented the celebu spawn business. Like I mean that is I am the first architect of the representation of famous and powerful industry actors, record company owners, celebrities, billionaires, and taking their children that became of interest
Mhm.
and turning them into stars.
Yep, I
That's
remember.
that's it. That was it. Then at the same time, that's also where we did the big crossover transformation of hip hop into film and television.
So
I like to
when
call this the elective business. This is the elective business of your primary businesses.
sure. So you go to Death Row. How'd you get
Mhm.
the attention of Suge Knight? Or was that an introduction that was made? Was that something that you were beating on his door because you knew you wanted it so bad?
No, you're not beating on Suge Knight's door ever, man. That's not happening.
That's funny, by the way. You probably pull out a gun
Get
on
out of
you,
your
right?
fucking mind if you're doing that shit. Suge Knight was a mythical figure at that moment. I mean, he was a bigger than life energy, both interesting, unique, scary, inventive, very also down to earth and also very cool, and also somebody that like you knew that you cannot have the wrong word come out of your mouth. Now, this is a time where I was still coming into my own as having my own point of view on the world and
Mm,
how the world operates. So I was very delicate in everything that is going on and how I dealt with people. And he basically had seen me working for other department heads in the hip hop Interscope overall business. And then when the opportunity came, his two right hand guys, they knew I had worked for them and they were like, let's bring him in. And I was different than a lot of people because I was like, you know, this, you know, white Jewish kid from
yeah.
Beverly Hills who had come in through a connected family into the Interscope system as an intern, that then I paved my way, and that I was doing work in a lot of various departments. So it was just a matter of time. And they also knew at Death Row that I was a good fit to go into places where a very unexpected employee of Death Row, it would be me, and they wouldn't expect that because they're thinking that, like, you know, this, you know, over the top, you know, different kind of person might show up to represent the company, whether that be whatever that may be. There was a preconceived notion, which is completely unfair because a lot of all the professionals that really ran the label, even while he was in, they were all, you know, it was a very big mix of people. There was definitely like the urban thug kind of guys that worked there, but then there was a lot of us that were just, you know, the guys doing the day-to-day operations of the place.
Mhm.
So it was crazy. I mean, because you know, Pac is dead, you know, Suge's in jail. We're working remotely with him on the phone, but it's still like millions and millions of records are being sold.
Mm,
Millions. These are physical records.
right.
These are not um digital downloads out of thin air. This is a physical product. There is so much more money in a physical product than a digital download. So you have so much going on, and you're also seeing the fruits of it because they made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of
Mhm.
dollars.
Absolutely.
So the opulence of that had I was also seeing too. You know, the cars, the planes, the toys, the luxury goods, all of that stuff, it all existed. And at the same time, you have me, and I'm now handling the records, like the real half-inch records, the original recordings of the artists. And these are not only just people that I'm working for and dealing with their stuff, but this is music that I am completely embedded into my culture and into my brain. I know every song. I know every lyric. I listen to this shit. I live this shit. You know, I have the chain.
Yeah.
I was going to USC. Yeah. I'm wearing the death row medallion at USC. Like, imagine in that time pulling up and having that medallion. Who is this? What are you doing? What?
You were living the dream. Full dream. You were living the dream, man.
It's a dream, but it's like, you know, I don't know whose dream is it. Yeah, it's a dream, but it's a reality. It's like it's crazy, you know. So I'm still now understanding what this journey has been. And if you watch the Death Row Chronicles on BET, which I co-executive produced and also starred in, you'll see the full story of Death Row Records from beginning, middle, and end. And a lot of really unique stuff, and that you can stream on Paramount Plus for BET. It's a great documentary that we did a couple years ago.
Ah, man, I love it. So much rich history there in your experience, man. I'm sure that you're going to keep sharing that with the rest of the world based on what we know you're working on, and we're going to get to that here shortly. But so you go to USC, you're working at Death Row, you're rolling in the big medallion, Death Row style, downtown LA, right at SC campus, and then you shift over to William Morris. Is that during college, after college?
No, you're not even there yet, brother.
You said William Morris earlier, man. You messing me up now.
You forgot where I went from Death Row.
You went to UTA.
No.
Damn it.
I worked for Eminem.
Oh, see, you threw me a curveball in there, man.
Yeah, I got the curveball.
So
curveball ski.
So bring us into the world of Eminem, man.
Well,
Slim Shady.
My going back to my dear friend Evan Bogart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Evan Bogart is a monster songwriter. He wrote SOS for Rihanna. He wrote Halo for Beyonce. He, you know, his dad was the biggest record company owner in the world. Go watch the movie Spinning Gold about his dad. It's out streaming now. He worked at Interscope, and he helped me get my job there. And I worked at Death Row. And he calls me one day and he goes, I need to come see you. And I go, okay. I go, what's up? He goes, I got to come see you right now. Now, Evan is like 20 years clean now, sober, working the system, working it. And he had some issues back then, up and down. And he had went to rehab while he was working, came back, got sober. And he called me and he was like, I got to come see you right now. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, come by. You know, I just got home from Death Row. He had just left Interscope. We met at my house. Now, mind you, I'm like, I'm not even out of college yet. I'm still at going to USC, but I'm working. So he shows up and he goes, bro, I got to play you this. Like, you got to see this. I go, what is it? I go, what are you doing here? He puts on this CD. And we bang out this record of like eight song EP. Oh my God, this shit is crazy. What? And this kid is saying stuff that's so offensive and crazy. And I'm like, what is this? At the end of playing the EP, he goes, this is a kid that I'm about to sign and bring through the system at Interscope. And he's white. And I said, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. This is not a white boy. This is not a white boy. You are out of your mind. I go, play the record again. Listen to this record again. I am blown away. He goes, look, we're going to sign him. I haven't brought it in yet. I met him at the Rap Olympics last night. I met the producers. I met the kid. I need you to come with me right now. And I need you to bring some weed. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, they're here from Detroit. They got no weed. I need you to come bring some. You know, we all grew up blazing and, you know, smoking the good stuff. Yeah. Grab me a little bag ski. And we roll out to Burbank. Walk in, this Eminem and the Bass Brothers, Mark and Jeff Bass and Paul Rosenberg, and in the studio. And it was just an immediate kind of friendship and connection through smoking weed. and through at that point they weren't signed it. Eminem was signed to Web Entertainment, Mark and Jeff Bass, who wrote and produced and did all of his albums. If you look on any Eminem record, you will see that they are the record company that he was signed to. Mm-hmm. So those are Grammy winners, Academy Award winners. They won everything with him. They did the first 5 albums for Eminem. So there's an immediate friendship there. And I'm working at Death Row. So Evan is now in the process of trying to get Eminem signed to Death Row. Like all the stories that you hear about, like, oh, we found it in a thing and a this and a that. That's all a bunch of bullshit. Evan met them at the Rap Olympics, worked at Interscope. Because of who Evan's dad was, he had a very strong relationship with Jimmy, and he was able to give the record to Jimmy, who then Jimmy gave it to Dre, and then they signed him. Now, Death Row and Interscope are under the same company, but they're at kind of a war together because Suge is in jail. So they were using me, Eminem's team, and Mark and Jeff as kind of like a pawn, being like, if we don't make the deal at Interscope the way we want to make it, we're going to Death Row with Dave Weintraub, and Dave Weintraub signing us at Death Row. Now, I had no ability to really do that at that moment, but that was the story that was being conveyed. And ultimately they got this gigantic record deal, and that became this very big friendship. And after about a year of watching them make the Slim Shady LP, it came out and it went gangbusters. And I was kind of just ready to move out of Death Row. And I went to go work for Mark and Jeff and Eminem at Web Entertainment. And I did the first album with them.
That's incredible, man. And
I'm now going into like my junior year of college. So a lot of things are happening at that moment, and I'm spending a lot of time with the spelling. So I'm like, going to school, working at Death Row, kind of living at the Spelling Manor, 52,000 square foot, $100 million home that everybody
famous
wants to go
property.
to.
Absolutely.
Infamous. Full access there, right? His son is my best friend, and Randy was popping on TV at all kind of TV shows at the time. His dad was popping, So ultimately that then turned into Aaron Spelling giving Randy and I a budget to do a record label through Spelling Entertainment. And then I graduated college, and then I got a job at William Morris, and then it turned into a career at UTA, United Talent Agency, as a talent agent.
What made you want to shift from what you were doing into William Morris? Like, what's happening at that point in your life? Are you thinking you need more credibility on that side from an agency? Like, how are you making your moves?
We tried to play record company on our own after working for these big record companies, and playing record company is very hard to do because there is a certain type of music that people wanted to sign, and we were kind of like we were living it and living the lifestyle, but like we weren't ready to really own the records yet. And I had a business degree at that point, so I'm like, I need to go and like I gotta get in the corporate world. So I suited up. And I went into William Morris Agency, and
but with a lot of leverage. I'm sure with a lot of leverage though, right? Because of all the experience.
Well, I went in as an agent trainee to be an agent. I became a junior agent there, but I then went on and became a full agent at UTA because like UTA was newer, cooler, and like they were more willing to understand all of my cred. William Morris was a very old school company that, you have to remember, everybody thinks there's like William Morris Endeavor Agency, which is like WME. That's that agency. So that's a combination of two agencies. The William Morris Agency, the oldest agency in the world from the 30s, was bought by the Endeavor Agency and Ari Emanuel, and then they became one company. So it was a blend of like a cultural difference in agency styles, where UTA was this very hot, young, cool agency that was like big in comedy and big in Hugh, Johnny Depp and Harrison Ford and Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson and, all the huge comedians that were coming out at that time, all the big Jim Carrey, the big 25, 30, $40 million players in comedy was what was going on there. And they were growing out bigger. Now I'm coming in and I'm a motion picture talent agent. So I'm there to read scripts, wear my suit, go to premieres, go to meetings, represent actors, find scripts, find jobs, but I'm living this celebrity lifestyle with Aaron Spelling and, having fun and the girls and the cars and the parties and the this and the Playboy Mansion and, the Spelling Manor and going out every night, breakfast, every day we had a breakfast, a lunch and a dinner and a premiere and an event and an after party. I mean, it was a crazy time, And then you got to be in the office and you got to be in the board meetings and you got to get the job. So you're doing a lot of different things. But my friends at that point were, the Osbournes and Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie and the kids from Laguna Beach and the Hills and the Jenners and Rod Stewart's family. So those started to become a business because Paris and the Osbournes were the first of these kids who didn't really have jobs yet. Like Randy Spelling was famous for being the son of Aaron, but he was also on a lot of TV shows. Tori was on Beverly Hills 90210, which is the biggest television show in the world. I mean, I still look at TV shows today and it still is not like the movement of what Beverly Hills 90210 was in that era.
Yeah, I watched it, man. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a lifestyle. It was everything. So there now became this interest in who are these kids, and these kids are funny and their characters. How do we create work for them? And we have this department at UTA, which is it was kind of called new media. It wasn't even non-scripted. It was new media, whatever the fuck new media is. And new media was the beginning of reality. And I had the kids. So my first client that I ever signed from growing up in that circle was Paris Hilton. And the first show that we ever packaged and sold ever was The Simple Life. And that was
a smash hit.
That was a smash, overnight smash, loudest smash you've ever seen. So through being involved in projects like that as a deal maker and a talent finder and a connector of dots within the production company to agency to talent world, I then was looking at my world and I was going, well, I don't really want to read scripts for this guy. I love the lifestyle. I didn't really want to read the scripts. I didn't really want to I love to make the deal. I love to get the job. I knew how to negotiate the shit, but I wasn't the guy tracking down, oh my God, I just, here's this script. I just found it. This is the greatest role in the world. We're going to make this film. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to get the big deal and do that stuff. But I also wanted to just be really loud and over the top. And I was like, hey, I saw what the Osbournes did. I saw what Simple Life did. I saw what Laguna Beach was doing. And I said, let me bring you into our world, because every day I go home and I'm hanging out with Aaron Spelling in the biggest house in the world. And me and his son are, we're dating everybody and having a good time, and everybody wants to be part of our crew. We got to do our own show. And I went and I took I met with the executive producer and creator of the Osbournes, JT Taylor, and he was a client of UTA's. And, we created a television series called The Sons of Hollywood, which we ultimately did 20 episodes of that for for Annie. And that was my first show that I created, produced, and starred in. So it was, and here it is.
And it's behind you too, man. Yeah, I saw that on the big picture back by the DWE arcade game too, man. You got it. You got it all back there, man. That's pretty cool.
So it's so obviously at that point I was segueing out of agenting because I had to become a manager. Because at that time, the agencies didn't see the ability of what visibility and marketing could do for the agency in having their guy as front and center. And I this is a time that Entourage is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the reality Entourage. Everybody wanted the reality Entourage. We lived it.
Right.
Like the shit they were talking about, that was really like our lives, on a daily basis. Granted, that show is loosely based on Mark Wahlberg and his experience, but like Mark Wahlberg had his version of Entourage. We have our version of Entourage, and our version of Entourage involved the Spelling Manor, and the Spelling Manor was like, this was no joke to have that house in that time and the access, because it was the most famous house in the world, and it was like ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it opened doors into crazy worlds.
So, dude, are you making some coin at this point in life? I mean, obviously, you've been in the entertainment business. Did you start making some really good money at the point you were with Death Row? Or are you still kind of,
Death Row? I was. I mean, at that time, you're talking about 1997 as a full-time A&R. I was making $60,000 a year.
Okay.
At Death Row. Working 3 days a week with the chain. That was good money for a kid at that era.
Sure.
A kid.
Right.
I'm
Absolutely.
a kid making that $60,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yes, UTA, you start making a couple $100,000 a year. The problem with the agency business, in my opinion, is that what I found in the 6.5 years that I spent in the agency business is that you get your base salary, which is like 250 or whatever, 300, and then you make millions and millions for the company. And then at the end of the year, you have to negotiate your bonus based on your performance. And basically, you're dealing with these mega famous agents, big people that own this shit, and they just want to fuck you in the ass. Excuse my language. And I got fucked 2 or 3 times by these guys, where my commission, when I made millions of dollars for the company, did not really, correlate with what my work level was. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit.
Right.
I was like, okay. So they didn't really believe in my TV ideas, and I didn't want them to. I didn't care what they thought, because I knew what I was doing when I left the agency. So the agency was a place to be and to work out of, but the lifestyle and the ownership was going to come because I knew how to make the deal and I knew how to create ownership. So I was like done with it. And I knew that managers could produce, managers could own and have the shows. So I represented Fat Joe and Eve as a agent. And they had a manager by the name of Troy Carter.
Okay.
And Troy Carter is a very, very, very famous manager, producer, entrepreneur. He's on, you've probably seen him on Shark Tank. You probably know him as Lady Gaga's manager. You probably know him as the guy who is one of the first investors in Uber. And Troy was opening a new management company, and he knew that I wanted to leave. So we got all my clients and everybody out, and I went and I partnered with Troy. And that was my first management company. So I have a TV show on the air. I'm partnered with Troy Carter. I'm coming out, we're going to go and do something big. And Troy and I had a great run, but he was this is pre-Lady Gaga. So this is like Eve and Fat Joe, and then Lady Gaga, he went like all the way to the moon. Financially and with all of his career, and he was a wonderful mentor. Fortunately, as partners, it was like a weird time because I was still figuring out my place. I was better off owning my own management company, so I founded DWE Talent in 2008, and I've had that company ever since.
Wow. So lot to think of there from my perspective. I got extremely curious on what you just said in the last 3 minutes, which was, so Troy wants to partner with David. What is Troy seeing in David that made you so attractive to partner? Was it the fact that you were really skilled in what your craft was, or the fact that you had the clients, or where was the synergy there to want to do something together? I think
he's a mega hip hop manager who also moved to LA with Will Smith as Will's assistant when Will got the Fresh Prince. So he's been in insane rooms. Then he got in with the Rough Riders and then became the real business figurehead. But he was always he was always the smartest guy in the room. I mean, Troy is one of the most calculated, smartest manager, producer, entrepreneurs out there. Like he is ahead of the curve in many businesses. And he knew how hard I was hustling my clients because I was blessed to have been mentored and worked for, and then an agent with a guy by the name of David Schiff. And David Schiff is like, was it. He had everybody. Harrison Ford, Eminem, huge movie stars, Jeff Bridges. So Troy saw that world and knew that I was trained properly. But then I also had this other world that I could bring that in, and he knew that I was really focused.
Sure.
It was a great situation.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. What makes a Troy and a you? I think of you in two different phases of life. I think like growing through the process of entertainment and then who you are today. And then David Schiff. What makes those guys so stand out and so successful in comparison to the other ones, David? What's the differences? Like you mentioned Troy being very entrepreneurial and in the right rooms. Like, are there certain things about him and even David that you can recognize and reconcile as like they were just gifted with this or they knew how to do that? What would you say that looked like?
They were well versed in relationships, in knowing what was on the cusp of the next thing that was happening, and being, I mean, a lot of it comes to being in the right place. And honestly, it's relationships. Forget it. I can't even say it. It's who you know and who you get your information from. If you don't have the right information, you don't have the right relationships, you're not doing it.
Sure.
Period.
No, man, I appreciate that transparency, by the way. That means a lot.
That's where it's going to come down to. And those are things that they had. Now, that's something that you have to build. And because you can't be the weirdo in the room trying to fucking level up with everybody and shake everyone's hand and be overbearing and weird and all that shit. Yeah. You got to be fucking cool.
Yep.
You got to be cool. If you're not cool, you're not getting there.
Yep.
I don't want to toot my own, but I mean, if Nancy Dubuque, who ran A&E for 20 years, meets me and says to me, "You are the reality entourage," I got to be doing something cool, right?
Yeah,
if
man.
the guys that created the Osbournes know that we're the next big thing, had to have been doing something right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, you know, especially when somebody else, it's like you call yourself a CEO, but then when somebody else calls you the CEO, then you're like, all right, there's the reaction that I needed to confirm it, right?
Right.
So you open up DWE, you go off on your own, you start managing, producing, creating, and then you just go ham, right? I mean, you're still producing shows. You're still working with top tier artists today. When we met, you still have all this coverage. Can you close the gap between today and kind of in 2008 when you start your own thing and like walk us through that process? Because, we met when we initially were talking about putting together a fantastic online training system that's going to help others understand exactly what D-Dub, I call him D-Dub, just so you know, I got the dub in there, David Weintraub, does behind this.
You and Brad still calls me that.
Does
too.
he? Does he? Yeah. He probably got that from me, damn it. Show him this clip, because I know for sure the first time we met, I was like, D-Dub, because I speak like that all the time with the dub.
Right.
But you're in position right now where you're getting ready to roll out what's going to be all of the secrets to the madness and the recipes of what you do here to help someone get from more of a talent side into position to create a life like you've helped so many others do. But help us understand, man, like go into some more. By the way, what you're sharing with us is so fascinating because it's like a peek into the world of what everybody's so involved in without knowing they're involved in, because they're watching the shows, they're going to the movies, they're listening to the music. But then there's the guys that make it happen like you and are part of the deals and the negotiations of it all. So DWE launches 2008. We're here in 2023, man. That's a big 15-year gap. Talk about some of the more exciting things in addition to what you've already been doing, because how can it get more exciting? But it sure does.
I mean, we're obviously like, we have to talk about, you know, the groundbreaking television series that we co-developed and co-created and produced for, 10 plus seasons, which was Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our first number one hit in television. And that was a lightning bolt in a bottle that was shocking to the world. And it was a nonstop go, making hundreds of episodes back to back for 10 years, made millions of dollars. I made millions of dollars. The show was licensed around the world. And it put me in another category in television making and allowed me to become a real guy that people go to pitch ideas to partner with. And at that moment too, this is kind of like, we had grown up with, Kim and Kourtney Kardashian, and Scott Disick met Kourtney through me and Sean Stewart on the set of Sons of Hollywood. So that was happening, and we were representing Scott. And at the same time, I wound up signing Ray J. So I to manage Scott Disick and to manage Ray J through the heyday, to be a part of both of those worlds as a deal maker and to have inside firsthand knowledge of everything Kardashian, everything Ray J, is a very interesting place to be. I mean, you think Death Row was fucking crazy. This was crazy. So, Scott and I had a big run together as manager client, and Ray J and I have had a huge run as manager client producing partners through, almost 1,000 hours of television that him and I have produced and created together. For 20 different networks, and we're still rock and rolling. Scott and I, we've had a lot of ups and downs. Fame and ability changes stuff, and I wish him nothing but luck. But there are some outstanding issues in that relationship. But the Ray J relationship, he's one of the smartest people in the television business that people don't even understand, which is why we have such a monstrous TV business with him that still exists. We just started our 11th season of Love and Hip Hop, which we're, involved in every way. Is the highest paid person on the cast. I'm the architect of this, long-term 11 season, multi-million-dollar deal that has been done. And then we have, companies together and brands together. And it's just been it's been a lot of fun. Now, people may think whatever they think, but I want to say here and now that Ray J is the highest paid person in all of non-scripted television, male talent.
Right.
So I want you to just let that sink in for a minute. Let it sink in. Think about that. So you can say whatever you want, but there's big, big things going on there. And, then an interesting thing happened because I started getting deep into the YouTube world, and I found this guy, Copper Cab, Mikey Cottrell, and we created and produced, and I starred in a show for 70 episodes called The Hollywood Hillbillies on Reels, which was a reality show about the reverse Simple Life. This big, crazy redneck family from YouTube moved out here and was immersed in my world in Hollywood. And the show was about myself and the family navigating through the hip hop world. And I got him a record deal. Ray J signed him to a record deal because, we put all of our people together. We got a record company here. We got a TV show here. Let's marry the two together. You got to think about how to connect everybody. We did that, 70 episodes of that. So I had this other next big run on a big TV show for a long time on Real Channel. That was the highest rated show they ever did. So it's been this kind of you got to do a little of everything. You got to be able to create and produce. You got to be able to do the deals. You got to be able to market the show, do the promotion, do the PR. And then I also had to be on camera, right in your face, being the star of the show too. So you got to think about how do you navigate all of those worlds. And that's navigating those worlds is what the Hollywood Handbook is about. And the Hollywood Handbook is our upcoming virtual training class that you're going to learn everything from my 25 plus years of work in the entertainment business on how you can do it. And everything is right here. You have a full production studio right here. This is it.
So
Everything.
we
Everything is here to
it
make it.
it sure is. We've worked on a lot of that over the years together, and I know how much you care about bringing that to light. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little teaser or kind of a few different tips right now that someone listening could apply? You just referenced the phone, like everything's in your phone right now. What is someone out there that's thinking they've got a skill or a talent, or they want to be on TV, they want to find a David Weintraub, they need whatever the collection of learnings are going to be in the Hollywood Handbook. What could someone hear from you right now, David, that if they're a creator, if they're thinking about how to get the next TV show on E or whatever the hell that might be, you know it better than I do. What would you say to them?
Well, the Hollywood Handbook is designed to be a fully functioning how-to guide and platform to have access to me, but to learn how to get into becoming an influencer, becoming a reality star. If you're a musician, how to sell your music, how to like market your music, how to brand integrate your music, how to get press, how to sell your content. It's basically the how-to guide into pop culture celebrities based on what your talent is. And your talent could be, you know what? I fry donuts, but I do it in a funny way and I do it on Instagram. How does that become then a Food Network TV show? Or you know what I do? I take automobiles and I glaze their rims. How do I have a TV show about glazing it? It's all about taking all of your ideas and your content and creating it into long form linear media, as well as online digital streaming media. And in addition to that, it's about taking all of those kind of content and marketing it and getting press and turning your story into a visual that people want to talk about. So it really is a behind the scenes opening up the curtain to Hollywood and pop culture Hollywood, because our focus now has evolved heavily into influencers. So influencers represent a huge part of our business now, more than like 30%. So, we have actors, rappers, rock stars, reality stars, influencers, celebrity chefs, celebrity hosts, but the influencers are where the money is at because it's all based on an analytic. Everything is a numbers based, community reach based number for how you get brand deals, how you can integrate, how networks will look at your value, how press outlets look at your value. So we've simplified how to get from A to B, how to take whatever you're doing in your room or your garage or whatever, or even at your office, and how to take that to the next level. If you follow the Hollywood Handbook step by step, we're going to show you exactly how to get to that next level. It is a first real how-to guide into pop culture, celebrity awareness, and how to market your talent.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to follow a blueprint, trust me, this is one of very, very, very few people in the world that you would want to listen to, because as I listen to that, David, what I realized is that a lot of creators and influencers don't know how to build the business on the back end of it, right? Which is exactly what you're saying. They can go and create about
business starts day one when you turn on the camera.
Right.
If you're not starting the business and you're not thinking about the 1 year plan, the 2 year plan, the 5 year plan, the 7 year plan, the 10 year plan, you're out of your mind. You're missing out. There's someone else richer, getting bigger than you today.
Yeah.
Because you have to have it all. And if you don't have a team, you're not going to get it. And that's why this is also an opportunity for us to have outreach to the community of talent out there and the community of interesting people that we can help curate and help find and take to the next level. So you're going to also have access to group pitch meetings. You're also going to have access to one-on-ones with me. There's going to be a couple different tiers and levels into getting part of this group.
Yeah.
And the Hollywood Handbook, honestly, is really the how-to guide to get into the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I love it, man. And we'll have all that stuff down for you folks that's in the description. So make sure you go check that out. D-Dub, because I'm curious, define the difference between all of the other categories of entertainer, rapper, musician, reality TV, non-scripted, and then influencer. Like, what the hell is an influencer? Right? Like, how do you define
an
it?
influencer is a person that has a large amount of celebrity followers, media attention, taste making, may have a huge amount of actual talent to play a piano or to sing or to rap or to cook or to, build houses, whatever it might be. It's somebody who people are watching who is the new celebrity and the new person of interest. YouTube stars, Rumble stars, Instagram stars, OnlyFans stars, you name it. They're all out there.
Mm-hmm.
And these are people that you have to be on the next curve of where the business is going to understand that you have to adapt to that.
Right.
Because today with the buyers, like I said, it is all a numbers-based question. The brand calls you. What's the numbers? Where's the analytic? What do we do? How much audience are we going to get? It's a numbers game. If you cannot quantify your numbers based on your talent, you are not going to get the job, period. I had a guy call me today, and he pitched me a show. And I've heard this pitch before. I've actually done this pitch before. I've actually shot this pilot before with another group. And he wanted to talk negatively about other shows that are on the air in the same similar space. And I had to explain to him why those shows are on the air and why his show is not on the air. And he couldn't fathom understanding. He couldn't understand that, like, the YouTube seeding area of what those numbers meant to the network and why they took them and crossed them over into linear television, why that happened and why his show won't happen because he has no numbers. And he couldn't understand it. He's like, they're fake, they're fake, they're fake. I go, but you're the one sitting here begging me about a show that has already been passed on 3 times. The content is not that interesting and you have no numbers. So if you're not going to listen to how to get to the next place, we can't help you. It's impossible. So there is a formula. If you guys want to learn how to do this, you want to get in the game, you want to become a star, you want to take your talent to the next level, you want to market your product, you want to market your life, follow the Hollywood Handbook.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And dude, I know you got to get rolling, man. I like I said, we can unpack a bunch of other different ways because I can ask questions for days. But because of that, what I want to ask sort of on the way out, one is, where can people find you? You can either tell us now or you can tell us after I ask you my next question, which always is finally going to point the arrow back at us, because I always ask, what does always on the grow mean to you, in this case, D-Dub?
I mean, always on the grow to me, is a couple different things. It's a 2-parter. One, I am extremely happy for you and the growth that you're having in your career and your business. And I appreciate all of the opportunities that you brought to me, because this sort of world of becoming a guide into the world of entertainment is something that you helped send me down this path on. And I wouldn't be here promoting this project or even really telling this next phase without you. So I really thank you for that. And I will always be here to help you and do anything that we can do together. And what's always on the grow in my life is looking for the next talent and the next great brands and the next great TV shows. And I want people to feel like they can contact us, because you can go through dwetalent.com through the inquiry. You can reach out to us on Instagram or Twitter. On Twitter is at dwetalent. Instagram, we have at dwetalent. My personal Instagram is Sir David Weintraub on Instagram. Reach out, because we do look at it. I can't say that we would get back to everybody, but we can see who might be interesting and take a look. Be very concise, be straight to the point, be cool if you want a response, and go follow the Hollywood Handbook. The Hollywood Handbook is going to be your guide to getting in there, and you will have more access to me, more access to the opportunity, and the growth that we're going to see when we open up this door. That is where the road is headed right now. So we're excited. And again, I thank you for having me on the show.
Dude, What an honor to have you, brother. I love you, man. I've appreciated you from the moment we met, and I know you were always, front and center and building great brands and your own shows and stuff. But you've always had a pure and gentle heart, man. So I've always appreciated that about you from the
Thank
moment
you.
we
You as
first
well,
met
man.
in LA. And what you said there about always looking for the next show and creator or talent. I find that fascinating because you are in essence saying that your growth is baked into what you love doing and what your business is, right? It's a very unique take on a question that I've asked a lot to a lot of different guests, and I find that quite unique in its response, man. So that was very well said, brother. You're clearly doing what you're supposed to do, living it up, having a fun time, man, and bringing the heat in terms of who you've become, brother. So, hey, man, God bless you. Can't wait to see you again here pretty soon. Next time you're in Vegas, you better not forget about me, man. But if I come to LA,
No,
we're getting together, man. Love you to death,
well,
brother. Be
for
good,
sure,
man.
man. Thanks,
All right.
Manny. Talk to you,
Peace.
brother. Later.
Adios.